Hi, everybody. Michael Tomasky here. I'm the editor of The New Republic, and this is the new edition of Tomaskycast, and it's a very special one. I'm joined by Tikhon Dzyadko. He is a Russian journalist. He's the editor-in-chief of TV Rain, which is the leading independent television news source in Russia, although it's not operating right now, as you're about to hear. Tikhon, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here.
No, thank you. It's a real special treat. Tell people first what TV Rain is.
TV Rain is the only one independent TV station in Russia. You know, in Russia, television has a very important place. Television has a lot of power. Since the beginning of the presidency of Vladimir Putin, till all the TV stations were taken by the control of the government. But in 2010, Russian businesswoman whose name is Natalia Sindeyeva, she decided to create the television with normal journalistic standards, with normal journalistic principles, television without propaganda, television for those who stopped watching TV because TV became the part of the propaganda. That's how TV Rain was created. But what is interesting that it was created as a lifestyle TV station at the beginning.
Yeah.
TV station about culture, TV station about lifestyle, TV station about trends, etc., etc. Not about news, not about politics, with only one news program a day. But then the situation was developing in Russia. Vladimir Putin decided to return as a president. There were massive protests in Russia, and it just happened that TV Rain became the only independent information TV station, and we were covering all the major politic events in Russia, such as elections, not only in Russia, such as elections, such as revolution in Ukraine, war in Ukraine, annexation of Crimea, and everything. So we realized that people in Russia were and are eager to get independent information, because at the end of our existence, we only on YouTube, I'm not mentioning other platforms, but only on YouTube, we had something like 16 million unique viewers per month, which means that a lot of people in Russia, they are eager to get independent information.
Yeah. So how were you able to stay on air all this time? I had the honor of visiting your offices in 2016, and the woman who interviewed me told me that, well, sometimes there's more pressure than other times. Sometimes we feel more heat than other times. So how did you manage to avoid being taken off the air?
Well, till the end of February, it has never been easy for the independent press in Russia. But till the end of February, till the beginning of the war with Ukraine, Russian government at least pretended to be, I would say, to be a failed democracy, to be pretended to be some sort of a democracy, and it has never made life of independent media easy, but it has never been too hard for the independent journalism. For example, our TV station in 2014, we were cut off major satellite and cable networks, which meant a lot for us. We lost a huge part of our audience. We lost a lot of money because we lost a lot of advertisers. Advertisers were it was banned for them to work with us, and we switched to the subscription model. And Kremlin, as we understand, thought that we would die under the subscription. But we got a lot of subscribers it was something like 70,000, which is a huge number for Russia,
Yeah.
where subscriptions are not like a common thing.
Mhm.
And then we decided to change our business model and our broadcasting model. We decided to be
Well, we're having a connection issue, folks, as you can see. He's back. Hi.
yeah. So where did I stop?
You were talking about your business model with the subscription base.
Yes, and then we decided to change our business model, and we decided to be active on YouTube, which helped us to get a lot of viewers and get a lot of money from YouTube and monetization, etc. So it has been always like this in modern Russia. Russian government was repressive, and Russian government always had a lot of restrictions in mind and in action. But independent journalists were smart enough to invent new ways of existence.
Yeah.
But with the beginning of the war, everything changed.
Right. So you suspended operations in early March around the time of the passage of this new law. So talk about your decision first, and then second, please tell people about the law.
Well, so when the war has started, I, as an editor-in-chief, I realized that it was the beginning or the end of TV reign, because it's impossible to imagine that independent TV station or independent media outlet could exist in a country which conducts aggressive war and unlawful war. Because since the beginning of the war, we were broadcasting 24/7, telling the people the truth, which was completely different from the official sources of Russian government.
Yeah.
And after 3 or 4 hours of this war, we received a letter from Roskomnadzor. Roskomnadzor, it is a regulator of the media in Russia, and in this letter, it was written in this letter that media should only get information about what is happening in Ukraine from the official sources, basically from the Ministry of Defense of Russia. But of course, we did not obey, and we continued to broadcast with.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you say you were told this 3 or 4 hours into the after the invasion started.
Well, first I got a call from Roskomnadzor. It was the first time when I got a call from Roskomnadzor. It was a funny discussion with this lady because she was very nice to me. She was like, Tikhon Viktorovich, I know how professional you are. I know how experienced you are. I know that you understand that you only should broadcast. I know that you understand that you only should spread real information about what is happening there. And I was like, of course, thank you so much for calling me. This is so important. Of course, I am professional, I'm experienced, and I know what to do, etc., blah, blah, blah. But I realized that it was the first, the first sign. Then Roskomnadzor released the statement for all the media, telling them that it is forbidden to spread so-called fake information about the war in Ukraine. And it was the second sign, but it was the obvious sign of the beginning of the end, because for them, fake information is the information which is not being spread by Russian Ministry of Defense. So on the 5th day of war, it was March 1st, our website was blocked by Roskomnadzor. And for example, the website of radio station Echo Moskvy, the most famous and the independent radio station in Russia, was also blocked. And then lawmakers, they announced that they were going to adopt this new law, saying that those who spread fake news about Russian military could face up to 15 years in jail. And fake news about Russian military means all the information which is not declared by the Ministry of Defense. So, for example, Russian Ministry of Defense tells we are not bombing civilian infrastructure, or we are not bombing villages, or we are not bombing houses. And if you show the video where you see that houses are being bombed, you are spreading fake news information about Russian military, because it is not confirmed by the Ministry of Defense. So when this law was adopted, we had a choice whether to become the part of the press office of Russian Ministry of Defense and only spread their information, or continue working as we were doing over the last 12 years and face 15 years in jail. We decided that it would be better for us, better for our viewers, and better for everyone if we stop operating and regroup and continue operating from somewhere else.
Yeah, that had to be a painful day.
Well, yeah, it was. It wasn't the best day in my life.
Yeah. You're now in Tbilisi, Georgia.
Yes, that's correct.
And are you doing journalism right now?
Yes. So we understand that the relaunch of the TV station takes several months, couple of months, because we have to find the place, the money, etc., etc. But we see how people are eager to get independent information, and we've been receiving a lot of messages from our viewers. So that's why we decided to launch. Several of our journalists decided to launch their own YouTube channels and make live streams every night, telling people about the news, and talking to experts and people on the ground, etc., etc.
So people can find you on YouTube?
Yeah, it's for example, my YouTube channel, mine and my wife's, who is our news director at TV Rain. In the first 4 weeks, we gained more than 170,000 subscribers. So I think it shows how big is request to the independent information in Russia.
Great. I'll put a link in to the little introductory paragraph I write to this so that people can.
Sure, I will send it to you.
Great. Thank you. Let me ask you about information in Russia. I know everything's controlled by the Ministry of Defense, as you said, but do you think your average Russian or your average kind of informed Russian has an inkling of what's actually going on?
It's a question without an answer, because it would be easier to answer this question if we had sociology in Russia. I mean, the real sociology in Russia.
Yeah.
But since Russia is an authoritarian state, or worse than an authoritarian state, with this law, which actually forbid you to use the word war, you only could use the word special military operation. Right. So with all these conditions, it's impossible to know what people know, what they think, what do they support? Do they support war, or do they not support war? And for example, when we see these polls showing us 80% of support of the war, these polls could not be trusted because it's just, I mean, it's impossible to trust them. It's like ask people in Nazi in Germany whether they support Hitler or not. Of course, they would say that they support him because they are afraid of the punishments. But what we know, that of course the access to the independent media in Russia now is smaller than it used to be, because independent media, all the independent media are blocked in Russia. You could only get access to them with VPN services and with services which help you get through the restrictions. Almost all main social media are blocked as well: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. YouTube is not blocked yet. Telegram is not blocked yet. Of course, it's for people. It's hard to get access to this independent media. But what we know that a lot of people over last weeks they downloaded VPN services, so they want to get access to this information. But again, it's impossible to say that, for example, 30% of people they're getting information from these sources and 40% from these sources and 30% from these sources. Of course, a lot of people they are watching state propaganda.
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of people they trust the state propaganda. Of course, yeah. But at the same time, we understand that there is a huge group of people in Russia which are in denial. They are just don't want. They probably understand everything, but it's impossible for them to admit it, because if you admit that your government is doing bad things, then you have to somehow live with it and decide what to do.
Yeah.
And people just it's impossible for them to admit a lot. For example, after this terrible news from Bucha, this city in
outside Kiev,
not far from outside Kiev, I got a lot of messages on my Telegram channel. I just could not believe that our soldiers could do such terrible things.
Yeah.
And so these words, I cannot believe, I think they are very important for Russia now.
Yeah, yeah. People surely must be suspecting. I mean, this didn't go as fast as it was supposed to. Weren't people told before the invasion that this was going to take a week and that Russian soldiers were going to be welcomed by Ukrainian people? It's still going on, so that people must be wondering why.
Well, I think it's the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, for a part of the people, the explanation from the Ministry of Defense that it was an actual plan. This explanation will be sufficient. Like, okay, this was a plan. Right. They wanted to make Ukrainian army's life harder by regrouping army, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Another part of Russian society perfectly understands everything, and they understand that the Russian army was defeated in Kiev and in Chernihiv, and that's why Russian army is regrouping now to make an offensive and to make an invasion in eastern Ukraine, etc., etc. But I'm sure that there is a big part of the society which just don't want to think about why and what is happening, because they perfectly understand that if they think about what happened there, they would have to ask serious questions. For example, why did Russian army lost so many soldiers there? What was the plan? Why did they die?
Yeah.
The second question will be, why did they kill so many civilians? Why they were so terrible there? So for these people, they are as well in denial, as long as I understand.
Yeah. Last thing I want to touch on, where do you think this is headed?
I don't know, frankly. I think it has like million possible options, but we don't know how it will go. 50 days ago, we lived in a different world. 50 days ago, me, for example, I could not imagine that a big war could start in Europe, and I could not imagine even knowing everything about my government, but I could not imagine that my government will be will participate in such terrible thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I could not imagine that, for example, Russian army would be so weak, and I could not imagine that Ukrainian army would be so strong, and I could not imagine that for the first time in 20 years, the West would be strong against Russia, because we in 2008, during the war in Georgia, in 2014, after the annexation of Crimea and the war in Donbass, we saw that the West was weak, and the West did nothing actually, and that's why Putin continued to do what he was doing. So we live in a new reality, and we don't know how this reality will develop, how the sanctions will work, how mothers, wives, parents, and kids of Russian soldiers killed in Ukraine would react to their deaths, how the Russians would react to the problems with the Russian economy, and to the fact that the country is in isolation now. So, I mean, I think it's impossible to predict anything.
Yeah. Two final quick questions, which we Americans are concerned about. Do you think Putin is capable of using a tactical nuclear weapon?
I don't know, frankly.
Do you think he has any designs on the Baltic states?
You know, on the one hand, the answer is no, because it would mean the war with NATO. Right. But on the other hand, the answer is maybe, because as long as I understand, the war with NATO is what he is dreaming of. Because in Ukraine, he's not fighting with Ukraine in his mind. Yeah. He's fighting with the NATO. He's fighting with the United States. Yeah. And I think he, for example, he wants the West to close the sky in Ukraine, and because it would be the perfect reason to start an actual war with the NATO. So I think the problem is that everything is possible now. If bombing Kiev is possible now, if fighting a war with Ukraine is possible now, why wouldn't it be possible to start a World War III?
Wow. Okay. We'll end on that note. Listen, Tikhon Dzyadko of TV Rain and his wife's YouTube channel, which we'll supply a link to. Thank you. It's a real privilege to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
Best
Thank you. Have a good day. Thanks.